Bishop endings. We're gonna first start with uh, bishop and pawn versus bishop. Usually those positions are really dangerous because the king is behind the pawn. So the pawn is two steps from getting promoted, and the only piece that is stopping it is the enemy bishop. Usually, the player with the pawn has four different ways to, or like tools to win the game. One of them is like forcing the bishop onto the short diagonal. We're gonna talk about what's the short diagonal, since this is like the crucial square here. We have this is the long diagonal, and with the blue, it's the short diagonal. So the first one is we're gonna force the enemy bishop to go into the short diagonal. And since here it's only 3 squares, he is not able to hold this position. And the second one is shutting off the diagonal, which is I want the enemy bishop to leave this diagonal and I will occupy it. The third technique is Zugzwang, everyone knows it. And we're going to use deflection to gain tempo. So remember those four tools. Okay, so in this example, as we notice, this is the square that I want to push forward, but unfortunately, currently the bishop is defending the square, and if he is able to capture the pawn, we will not win the game with only a bishop. Therefore, our first objective is I want to push this enemy bishop from this diagonal. Logically, the first move is bishop b7. He cannot capture because the pawn will promote. So he's gonna try to resist by playing bishop f5. We're gonna stay on this diagonal, bishop f3, and then he's gonna go to the short diagonal and try to defend here. And now a very important move. We cannot play bishop b7 because first of all we're blocking our own pawn, and then he can repeat. Let's say like that. So nothing happens. We have to find another way, and this is so we're gonna play bishop e2. The only square that the bishop can go to is this one, and once the king moves, we're gonna deflect the bishop by playing bishop g4, and if he eats the bishop, the pawn gets promoted. And unfortunately for this bishop, the king is controlling two of the 3 squares of the short diagonal, and now the game is over because no one can stop this pawn. We're gonna go to the second position. Sorry, here. So in this case, we have the same type of position. We want to promote this pawn. The king is behind the pawn, and unfortunately, the enemy bishop is controlling this long diagonal. So as usual, we're gonna have to remove the bishop from this diagonal, and the way we're gonna do that, we're gonna come here because he can capture us, and he will still control this square, and it's a draw. So the only way to do that is, let's make a plan. So if we manage to get this bishop to the square, now we're gonna force this bishop from staying on this long diagonal. And the way we do that is we're gonna do something like this, and in order to come to this square. Of course, black will try to prevent us. So let's see how it goes. So bishop bishop h4. He's gonna play king b5, bishop f2, king a6, preventing us from coming to this square, but not for long, because we're gonna stay on this diagonal. And now if he stays on bishop f4, we're gonna go from another route, and now we're gonna come to this square. So first of all, we're gonna play bishop e7. If he tries to go, he's gonna try king b5. Now king d8 and king c6. Okay. Now we're gonna take a tempo. We go back to the first plan. We want to come here, but how we do that? Directly. Now we don't give him time for the king to cut off this important square. So he has to stay on this diagonal in order to protect the pawn from promoting, and at the same time he cannot capture because the pawn gets promoted. So he has to stay on the long diagonal. Once he does, let's say he plays king bishop h2, we're gonna play directly bishop e3, and now if you can see, the king cannot stop two threats. The first one was from coming here when the king was here, and the second threat is coming to this square from here. So he's gonna try bishop b5. We're gonna come bishop a7, king a6, bishop a8. The first mission is done now. This bishop is we took away from him the long diagonal. He's gonna try to go to the short one. So bishop g1. Now we go bishop c7, and the only move is we want to promote the pawn. The only move is to go to the square. And at this moment, it's only about Zugzwang. So we offer him bishop in exchange of bishop. He will not accept it for sure. He's gonna stay on this diagonal and wait for us to go to another square, and then he can come back. And that's what we will do. Bishop e5. Once he comes here, now we offer him the bishop for free, and he cannot stay on this short diagonal to protect the pawn, and if he takes the bishop, we are promoting the pawn. This is how we win.